Good afternoon and welcome to the March 2025 regular meeting of the Finance and Risk Management Committee, which is FRMC. I am Gita Samani, interim chair of the FRMC, representing the City of National City. We welcome members of the public, community power staff, and committee members joining us today at the City of Chula Vista Council Chambers. I will now call the March 2025 regular FRMC meeting to order. Oh, I do it again. Sandra, please call the roll.
Director Insunza,
I'm here.
Director Suzuki,
Here.
Interim Chair Yamani.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Let us turn and face the flag. Let us stand up and face the flag with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, are there any items to be added, withdrawn, or reordered on the agenda, Madam Secretary?
There are none, Madam Chair.
So, non-agenda public comment. We will now take up non-agenda public comments. Any written public comments submitted before the FRMC meeting were emailed to committee members prior to the meeting and will be posted on the website. Madam Secretary, do we have any non-agenda public comment?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. Mr. Scott Andrews, can you please come up to the podium? You will have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Madam Interim Chair, Finance Committee members. I'm Scott Andrews. I'm the President and CEO of Neighborhood National Bank. We visited the committee several months ago to inquire and express our interest in serving as a depository for San Diego Community Power. And we're here today to just let you know we still have that request. We're still interested in providing San Diego Community Power with banking services. We are a CDFI, which is a community development financial institution. Our mission is to serve the low and moderate income communities that many of your ratepayers reside in. Our mission is to provide banking services to minority-owned businesses, women, veteran-owned businesses, as well as provide affordable housing in those low moderate income communities. And we're a bank, we make loans, but to make those loans, we need capital in the form of deposits. And so we're here, again, really verbalizing our request for the committee and Dr. Washington to consider placing up to $10 million of your reserve funds on deposit with Neighborhood National Bank. We can provide full FDIC insurance coverage, so there's zero risk of loss to San Diego Community Power should you elect to place deposits with us. We'll offer a competitive rate and we'd be very interested in having further discussions with Dr. Washington and those folks appropriate here. So that's what we came to speak to on today. Appreciate the time this afternoon. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has them.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Thank you for the visit. Thank you for the visit of the Neighborhood National Bank.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, directors, we will now move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar number 1, approve February 2025 meeting minutes. Do any committee members wish to pull the any consent calendar item? Sandra, do we have any public comment on any of the consent calendar?
There are none, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are there any committee members' comments or a motion on the consent?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any comments, any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Director Insunza,
Yes.
Director Suzuki. Aye. Interim Chair Yamani.
Aye.
Motion carries, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. We will now move on to regular agenda item number 2, appointment of a chair and vice chair to the Finance and Risk Management Committee. I'll turn over to Dr. Eric Washington, Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, to present this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Dr. Eric Washington, Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer at San Diego Community Power. This item, we are seeking a recommendation from the Finance and Risk Management Committee to appoint a chair and vice chair to the committee. Given recent makeup to our board, this seat was made available, and under the JPA Joint Powers Agreement, Section 5.10.6 provides that each committee of the board shall choose its officers, including the chair and vice chair. With that, Madam Interim Chair, I will now turn it back over to you to move this.
I'd like to make a motion. We need to ask for public comment.
We will first go to public comment, and then I will take a nomination and a motion. Madam Secretary, are there any public comment?
There are none, Madam Chair.
You know what? I have not even welcomed the new members, the new member of the FRMC. I'm so sorry.
I'm out of here.
Councilmember Michael Inzunza, please say something. 1 minute.
Welcome to our humble abode here in the city of Chivas, where all our meetings should be held here. Coming in May.
Thank you so much, Councilmember.
I'll make a different motion on that later.
Okay, now, of course, you already know.
Is it okay if I make a 2-for-1 motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Councilmember Ditas Yamani as chair and Councilmember Suzuki as vice chair.
Second,
I don't have any other, so you have to
I
second.
feel like, right, that's true. Second.
Okay, I have a motion, to nominate, myself, Tita Yamani as chair, and, Councilmember or Director, Suzuki for vice chair. I have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, are there any other comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Director Insunza,
Aye.
Director Suzuki,
I,
Interim Chair Yamani,
Aye.
motion carries. Madam Chair.
So do I accept it? Council, do I accept it like formally, officially? I accept.
I think it's been acted upon, so I think you're officially the chair.
We're in trouble.
Big trouble. Got the South County in charge.
Thank you for your trust and confidence, directors. I will always be, of course, under the guidance of our executive officers, most especially as this is the Finance and Risk Management under the guidance of Dr. Washington and his team. I look to Tim and to Chris to always give me guidance in making sure that I that we make decisions in the interest and success of our organization. Thank you. So after that, we go to our item number 3, Treasurer's Report for period ending January 31st, 2025. I'll turn over to you, Dr. Washington, for this report. Or Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Dr. Washington, you're it, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I start my presentation on the Treasurer's Report, I'd like to acknowledge the directors that serve on this committee. Congratulations, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair, and welcome to the committee, Director Inzunza. I couldn't do what I do without the support of the finance team, and I'd like to just acknowledge them and all the hard work that they do, not only for the finance department, but for the organization overall. That has truly allowed us to be a successful organization that is endeavoring to be financially stable and to ensure longevity of our organization so that we can execute on our mission and our vision going forward. So I'll start the report. Again, I'll be presenting this report, seeking a recommendation to receive and file the Treasurer's Report. I'll be co-presenting this with Christopher Doe our senior financial analyst. So to orient you to the slide that's before you now, the table in the upper right-hand portion of this slide really speaks to our year-to-date 7 months through January 31st, 2025, where we landed pretty much in line with our net revenue position as it is compared to our amended budget. And then also taking a look at the total expenses. So I'm happy to report that total expenses came in significantly lower than we had budgeted in our budget amendment. And so there's some things that contributed to that, but really kudos to our power services team and their procurement efforts and all the efforts that they do to make sure that we are compliant with our required portfolio standards. And it shows up in our financial results year to date through January 31st. We landed with a bottom line net position of 44 million, where we had budgeted 4.6 million. So again, that contributes to not only our reserve bill, but also speaks to the significant efforts that we as an organization really hold high level in terms of making sure we can do everything that is within our purview to make sure our rates are competitive. And in this stage of affordability, we keep that top of mind. So we landed the position, ended the fiscal year period reporting 822.5 million in net operating revenue, set against 776 million in total operating expenses, again landing at a net position of 44.5 million in terms of change our net position year to date through January 31st, 2025. This next slide I often refer to as our sort of like our financial performance dashboard. This slide really brings together all of the efforts in terms of how we perform from an expense perspective, a revenue perspective. So starting with the box in the upper left-hand corner of this slide, I'm hopeful that everyone can see that. And so again, we ended the period with about a $44 million contribution to our reserve bill. And I'll get to what that means holistically to the organization in just a moment. Going down to the reserves position to the lower left-hand corner of this slide, we ended the period with access to total liquidity of over $500 million. But that number is made up of actual unrestricted cash reserves and then overlaid with access to availability under our line of credit, which has a limit of 250 million. So I'd like to just make the connection between this portion of the liquidity and tie that into our debt position. We currently have zero outstanding on that $250 million line of credit, but I'd like to call out that the portion that is unavailable under that line of credit is carved out to support issued standby letters of credit that we post to various counterparties as collateral for some of the power purchase agreements that we have outstanding, as well as some other entities, IOUs, the California Independent Systems operator. So those are standby letters of credit that support collateral position in lieu of us having to post cash for those collateral positions. So moving on to the reserve goal, the lower right-hand corner of this slide, the square, and then also the pie chart adjacent to it. So year to date, we have reached 65% of our reserve bill. Although we've made some significant inroads in approaching that reserve target of 180 days cash on hand, we still have work to do. And there's reserves that are necessary to give us the stability and resilience that we need to respond fiscally in an environment that has a lot of variances, things that are outside of our control, and that could occur knowingly or unknowingly. So we want to make sure that we can continue to be a viable agency with sufficient reserves to make sure that we can handle those things should they occur. So we'll move on to the next slide. This slide really shows our trajectory in terms of our reserve build and our target. So I will now turn it over to Chris Doe, our senior financial analyst, to present this part of the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Washington. Good evening, Director Yamani, Chair Yamani, Director Suzuki, and Director Azusa. My name is Christopher Doe, Senior Finance Analyst at JM Community Power, and I'll be presenting the rolling 12-month slide here of our reserves. So we're looking at the blue. We're focused on the blue for the day for actual cash. We have 113 days, as Eric mentioned previously, in 361.7 million. And about 212 in our line of credit that's available. So with that, our total liquidity comes to 179 days. We're almost at our 180 days goal there, and our 180 days goal lowered slightly due to the recent budget amendment passing by the board in February. And so what we have is we're in a stable place. Our liquidity is good, but we're really focused on trying to get our cash there. So to shore up our long-term viability here at San Diego Power. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Doe. Next slide, please. So this slide, I believe, is our final slide, but definitely something that we always want to make sure that we have line of sight to. And this slide shows customer retention, said differently, but it's really a metric that we follow in terms of participation rates. So we are able to sustain the participation rate as an organization at above 95%. So essentially what this says that the customers that were eligible to participate in our program, we've retained over 95% of those customers, as illustrated in the bar chart above the table. And the table essentially takes drill down focus on what the participation rates are over the 7 jurisdictions that are enrolled into our Community Choice Aggregator, or CCA program at San Diego Community Power. Next slide, please. Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation. I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Washington. Thank you, Chris. Directors, any comment?
I have a comment. I understand a few more meetings might go to the port. Is that temporarily, or is that just because there's a conflict here? Or are all meetings scheduled here?
Madam Clerk, can you speak to that? It's temporary, Councilmember.
If we have a conflict here?
I believe so.
Yeah, the meeting in June, we had to move it to June 12th because the 19th is a holiday. So because we have a CAC meeting on the same day, we're going to the port. The meeting in November, same conflict. The meeting in December, the room is not available.
Want me to put someone in a headlock and move that meeting for you?
I think you have a commission meeting going on that day.
Okay, no worries. I just want to make sure, especially because we're all South County people and there's no traffic going north, but there's a lot of traffic by the time these meetings are done between about 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., 6:30. It's really hard to come back in the South Bay or the South County. But okay, no big deal. That's all I wanted to ask. If you ever need me to muscle anybody, I'll do it for everybody.
Well, council member, we can talk offline about that.
That's right.
I'm gonna push you about it, but not to mention that you're out of order because we are on finance.
That's right.
You have any question, like serious question about our finance, about the report from the finance department?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I just wanted to thank Dr. Washington and Mr. Doe and Tim for all the hard work you folks have put into it. A lot goes into it, and for also taking the time to explain it to us and put up these graphics that make it much easier to understand. So it seems that, just one quick question, in looking at if we could pull up the slide with the candlesticks.
The one prior. This one?
Yes, thank you. And so it looks like we're in pretty, healthy shape. Is that correct?
In terms of our cash position, as we are continuing to work toward our reserve goal, we are on a positive trajectory that is supporting that reserve toward the target.
Oh, I see. And that's why you had mentioned earlier about the 65% of the reserve that we're still progressing toward.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. So if we could roll back one more slide, focusing on the pie chart. This pie chart in the lower right-hand corner of this slide indicates where we are from the reserve bill purely from a cash position. That's the measure in terms of days cash on hand. But what we also like to overlay that with to support that reserve build is access we still have on that line of credit. So what that essentially allows us to do, if something significant were to happen, we would have resources that we could leverage or lean into to support us through whatever that event might be, and still be in a position to continue to operate as a financially stable agency. Thank you for the question, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. No questions.
Thank you, directors. Thank you, Dr. Washington, for you and your team, for, making sure that we have this monthly reports. I know that I have, some questions to you during our briefing, and, the one part of the question that I have asked is, where is our reserve sitting at the moment? And you mentioned to me that, if you can answer that, so then my fellow directors can hear it.
Yes, thank you for the question, Madam Chair. Yes, so those reserves that we have contributing to the reserves from our net from one period to the next is one way that we continue to contribute and build those reserves. But also, in addition to that, those reserves are held in interest-bearing accounts that really support the reserve bill, and this is all public information. And then in addition to that, we have an asset manager that we work with that's also able to leverage a return on investments to ensure that we're protecting ratepayer dollars and we're putting those ratepayer dollars to use and to work in terms of continuing to support that reserve bill as opposed to just sitting in an account and not earning any type of return on those resources. So thank you again, Madam Chair, for the question.
And another question that I have for you that I want my colleagues to hear is, all of these are insured under or properly insured under the FDIC, correct?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. Most of our deposits are in what's called an ICS account. So that allows public agencies to deposit higher dollar amounts in interest-bearing account. And those are collateralized by the banks by the bank that holds those funds for the most part.
And these banks what are their CRA ratings?
Madam Vice Chair, I'd have to look into that, but happy to report back to the board on that. I do know as a former banker that banks undergo an examination from a Community Reinvestment Act, and those reports are made public subsequent to those. But I'm happy to look into our current bank, River City Bank, as well as JP Morgan and Chase Bank, to come back to the directors with that information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Washington. I think that as the recommending committee to our board, we wanted to make sure that we are well informed of these elements, so then we proud ourselves to be accountable and to be responsible in making proper recommendation to our full board. Thank you, Dr. Washington, and thank you to our finance team. Next item in the agenda is, I would like a recommendation from my colleagues to receive and file treasurer's report for period ending January 31st, 2025.
I don't think we have to vote, do we?
We do not need to vote for.
Oh, so this is a recommendation to receive, we recommend to receive and file. Thank you. So, are there any committee member announcements, directors? Council, Dr. Washington, Madam Secretary? None? Then that brings us to the end of our agenda. I appreciate everyone's participation today. We are adjourned to the next regular FRMC meeting on April 17, 2025 at 3 p.m. here. Madam Sec, here. Thank you, Councilmember Inzunza, for hosting.
Always.
We are adjourned.